this is a good exercise for that fear, because you can do this. You have 15 minutes, you can do 5 of these. You know, I think one of the big excuses we make for ourselves is that we don't have enough time. And really, we have a lot more time than we think. And I'm not standing on the pulpit here or at a place of having to relearn this every day. But my husband, who's a sculptor, is always telling me, you know, 10 minutes a day. You just have to keep connected to the work. And he's somebody who could work in a bathtub. I mean, he's just really, really good about always re-engages for him. And I seem to find all kinds of ways to do the dishes first. Somebody needs something, you know, my mom and whatever. But even my son will say, go write. You're supposed to be writing now. Fear about writing, loss of control of my image. That's really interesting, because one of the things that happens in this exercise is that you don't have control, so in a sense, I think it can be very freeing and helpful. And these are process exercises, and all of you, I'm sure this is not new, I'm just reminding you of something that you probably already knew. Fearful I won't measure up to the expectations of myself. That's another nice thing about doing triggers, and many of the things in Brenda Miller's book. There is no expectation. It's not an essay, it's not a novel, it's not a short story yet. It's just you writing. And I think that directness, because when we get too focused on the outcome, we lose so much of the joy of it. And I think all of you have had experiences being successful at writing, and that also is a different kind of challenge. You know, once you've done it once, you think, okay, it should be easy next time, but each time, of course, you have to start from the beginning. And, it's always a kind of gift when you get there. My greatest fear is cliche. Again, I think when you're doing snapshots, it's very hard to be a cliche, because cliche, you know, it's a stigma. What is a cliche? It's an overused expression, overdone. There's sort of not very much room for cliches. And the other thing is, nobody sees the world the way you do. And that's all you need, is the way you see the world. I was telling my workshop that one of my favorite quotes about writing is James Baldwin's wonderful lines. You know, he said, I write to change the world knowing perfectly well I probably can't. But if you change the way people see the world, even by 1 millimeter, you have changed the world. I think that's something to remember when we're back at home, writing when other things seem so much more pressing. Fear of the blank page, fear I'll discover I'm not very good. Failure, self-indulgence, unearthing of repressed memories. No one else will understand my thoughts. It can be a little scary to unearth repressed memories. I think there's no question that that is one of the reasons why we sometimes don't write in the first place. I think the nice thing about taking short triggers and short forays in is it's a quick in and out. And before you know, you scared yourself, it's over. You know? And then you can go back, and maybe the next day or 3 months later, you look at it and you're like, wow, that was the experience my student had when we lined up all the snapshots. I mean, I was sensing something going on that she really wasn't ready to see yet. You know, she would have probably one day on her own. It just sped up the process a little bit. But when she looked at them and she saw what she'd actually written, you know, it was just tremendously exciting. Because the hard part was over, it was out. So anyway, these are just some of the fears. I won't pretend to say I can address all your fears here, but I imagine that some of the fears I've read out loud are some of the ones you have. Maybe they're even some of the ones you wrote. And if you read all of these, you would probably laugh to see how similar everybody's fears are. You know, it gets down to that fear of being ourselves fully and what would happen. There is an element, and and it's come up in these fears of fear of writing about family, and if there's time at the end, we can talk about that. That is, you know, you can do a whole seminar on that. But I'm really interested in giving you some ideas and tips for how to generate, right? This is about generating material when you're busy, right? When you only have 15 minutes, when you don't feel like it. And that's the other thing. You've got to make sure you don't only write when you're in the mood. Right? It's, you know, just tell yourself this is your job. 15 minutes, like you have to brush your teeth or whatever you have to do every day. John Updike had this wonderful anecdote about how he became a writer. Has anyone read that? His father paid him to write one summer. And he said, you know, you can get a job at the Pig's Parlor, but if you can sit in this barn and write, I'll pay you a salary. And isn't that kind of an amazing thing to do as a parent? I think his father was trying to convince him that he would never be a writer. Goals. Let's just think for a little bit about goals. Originality, being prolific, getting published. I'm going to leave the publishing aside for now. Learn something, teach something. Okay. I heard originality, authenticity in every snapshot. You know, you guys read. There's no way not to be authentic and original when you are focused on your own particular perspective. Let's see, just a couple other goals. Ask questions, express opinions. That is something that's not directly dealt with in this snapshot, except that they are kind of inquiry into, you know, memory is always an act of the imagination, right? Because you have to shut your eyes, you have to remember, and it's a kind of process. Goal that my writing will save a life, that my writing will be remembered. Slice of life. Tell a story that's true and honest. You've probably heard overlapping goals of your own. And, I think that's another thing that can be sort of help you in those moments when you're thinking, why am I doing this, or what's the point, or I'm never going to get anywhere. Or those are the kind of ideas that help you procrastinate. Let's move into another exercise. Okay, let's write something else. For this exercise, I thought it would be very interesting, since you've been here at Enders for 4 days, if you actually wrote a short piece about being here. And there's an exercise on page 113. It's called a found essay. And there are many variations of this. The one that Brenda Miller describes is one in which you mine objects for stories. And I think this can be a useful short exercise to do wherever you are. But basically what you do is you take 3 or 4 objects from a place and then sit down and write short responses to them, timed responses to them. So what I want to do, like I did that with myself this morning actually. I went for a swim and then I walked around and I picked up 4 things that sort of reminded me of my time at Enders. I've been drinking water every hour for 4 days. So if I were to, you know, I actually sat down and wrote a piece about, this really brought up a lot of memories of Ender for me. This shell, I've been swimming every day, and when I got stung by a jellyfish, I actually picked up a shell. So, you know, this stick, just, I don't know why I picked up this stick, and this seaweed. So these are the 4 objects that I sat down and I laid them down, and next thing I knew I had 4 pages about being at Enders and the beginning of an essay. So I want to do it right now with you. I want you to come away from this, each of you, with a short piece about being at Enders. So I want you to go out and walk around and pick up 4 things, or it could be 5. So it is, come back here. So it's 3 o'clock, or no, it's 5 of 3. Let's meet here at 5 after 3. 10 minutes. 10 minutes. Does everybody have a watch down?